This podcast could potentially have adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly the possibility of sexual content. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Drinking with Authors. I'm your host, Erica Lance. My co-host today is the amazing Bo Lake, and our guest today is Paige Lavoie.
Yay!
Welcome, Paige. Welcome. We tried to do this before, but one of the co-hosts had an emergency, and I just have to put a disclaimer that Paige had the most epic Mothman hot chocolate beverage at that time. And because of the thing, we lost it. It's fine.
Make it. I remade it on Instagram Reels. So if you go to my Instagram, you can see it in all its glory. But it's pretty good.
You guys have to do that. It is so amazing. And I have to give mad props before we talk about what we're drinking now. Okay. So I am drinking my favorite white wine, which I probably shouldn't say because it's like $12 a bottle, but it's the Pacific Rim sweet Riesling. They added fire to the dragon on the bottle. It didn't used to have fire. I noticed they added fire. So, and I'm drinking it out of a wine glass my dear friend Grayson Ace gave me that says, I'm trying really hard not to connect with people right now from Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
David and Moira are our heroes. They are absolutely the best. Bo, what are you drinking, my friend?
Well, today I'm boring and I'm just drinking a chai tea latte with a shot of espresso in it.
You got to get that espresso Baileys. You could have like zhuzhed that entire thing up.
I know. I was in a rush.
That's
okay.
fine. That's fine. Bo actually stepped in for another co-host that couldn't make it, but I was like, somebody's getting on this because we're not rescheduling Paige again. She's gonna think like the world is against her.
Like we're avoiding her.
The whole world is like, you don't even drink, Paige. Like, I've got two beverages.
You don't get to be on this podcast.
Yeah,
you can't sit with us. Paige, what are you drinking?
I have two drinks. So I've got a it's a vanilla lavender latte with oat milk and a little bit of almond milk because you're running low on oat milk. And then I have a hop water. I don't know if you've had these before. It is a sparkling water with hops in it. It also has, I always say it wrong, but L-theanine and ashwagandha. So it's like great for anxiety and stuff. And it has like a tiny bit of like a beer taste, but yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm going to have to try that. I've never heard of that before. I will try it now. So for anyone out there who doesn't know, what do you write?
Well, I'm kind of on a trajectory right now. It seems like in the paranormal romance front, where my book with 4 horsemen is I'm in Love with Mothman, and Bo is the editor and is just generally very amazing. And it is a cozy, little bit spicy Mothman romance. And so typically I feel like it's stories about monsters, misfits, and falling in love. So I love like autumn Halloween aesthetic and vibes and like putting that into books.
Very cool. So when did you start writing? When did you decide you wanted to be a writer? We like going backwards in time first and then jettisoning forwards and then back and forth and back and forth. So
nice. Okay, good.
Take us there.
I have like the boring cliche answer of like I've always been writing stories. I wrote so much fanfic as a teenager, but I was not a normal teenager in the sense that I didn't write it and post it online and find a community. I wrote it in notebooks that I hid under my bed. So under my bed was just like Sesshomaru fanfic, Lord of the Rings fan fiction, some different random animes, and anything. I had some Newsies fanfic, so I just didn't discriminate. Anything that I was like hyper fixated on the moment, I would self-insert myself into and be like, let's kiss some cuties. That was, yeah, just basically made myself like, it was honestly like the writing equivalent of dating Sims. Like, just plot myself into this world.
I love that analogy, and I love that you. Okay, so we have to unpack this.
Yes,
because
please.
We've had several people that write fan fiction, and I love that. I love fan fiction. what? So first of all, how come you didn't post any of it? Because that is literally the first time I've ever heard of anybody writing fan fiction and then not posting
Hiding
it.
it under their bed.
Yeah.
Well, I was kind of like, it was that new time of the internet, you know, so like MySpace was just happening. The websites were like Yahoo Geo sites and stuff. I don't really think I knew how. And I also, you know, our internet usage was pretty monitored, I think, by like family and stuff. And I think I knew that if I were to post it online, I would have to let my parents like see what I was posting to the internet. And so very, like, not that I didn't like sneak around websites and poke around, but I think I was too honest of a teenager to do it in secret, and mortified at the idea that my parents would be reading like my fan fiction about kissing people, my kissing books, my secret kissing
Your
notebooks.
secret kissing. So your fan fiction involved you inserting yourself into the story?
Oh my gosh, yes. It wasn't always me. Sometimes it was. I had a very long running Legolas fanfic, and I let people read that one because I was very proud of it. I put it in a notebook that I like bound. I had like drawing illustrated cover. I did an Elvish to English dictionary in the front. And it was about like literally me going to stay at my grandparents' cottage. They lived up on by a lake in Michigan. And my grandparents went to the store and I was alone, and I went for a walk in the woods and ended up in Mirkwood. And it was the first sunny day in Mirkwood that I arrived. So bad. But it was also, you know, I mean, now I just wrote a book about a girl moving to the woods and falling in love with Mothman. So
On
it
a
all comes
sunny
full
autumn
circle.
day, like
Yeah.
On a sunny autumn day,
My
she
God.
moved and there was Mothman. So I, first of all, love all of this. I love that you created a binder. I love that you
Mhm.
shared it in a binder, because I think that there is a lot of, you know, you're going back to the time of MySpace. I remember when I had AOL, and it was AOL and Messenger. So I also remember having bulletin boards. Like I could go back in time, and I'm just like super dating myself and not like going out on a date, but putting myself in time way back then. But I know what you're talking about. And I also understand the concept that especially when something's new, you have no idea who can see it or
Mhm.
when it goes out there, or will somebody tell somebody and you'll get in trouble, you know, for writing it. But what I think is so awesome is the self-insert, because I don't know that I've heard that with fan fiction a lot. Like
Really?
a lot of times fan fiction takes characters and makes them into different stories people would like to see, or puts two characters that don't get together, or three characters. I mean, you can, there's lots of things out there, but going, you know what? I want to fall in love with Legolas and Mirkwood. Like, I think that is just freaking awesome. That's
pretty
so
fun.
much fun.
it's
So-
very main character energy of you. I love
It's
it.
very Mary Sue energy.
I love that. Bo, you wrote fan fiction, didn't you?
Well, I also had a notebook that I hid, that I covered in pictures of Brendan Fraser in The Mummy, and I wrote erotic stories about him, and I'm still doing that to this day in secret.
Impeccable
Well,
taste.
it's not a secret. You're on a podcast.
I know,
that
I know.
goes all over the
But-
world.
Everyone will see it soon enough. Soon enough. The secret
Oh, yeah,
project.
that's true. I forgot that's
Mhm.
actually coming out as a book. But
Ooh.
yeah, did you insert your? It's not actually Brendan Fraser, just for the record. 'cause,
No, no.
yeah, hashtag copyright.
Legally speaking, it is not.
Yeah,
Speaking.
in our minds.
But I
so it
never
is.
like inserted myself because I don't think my self-esteem was good enough for that. So it was always like Brendan Fraser was like kissing Rachel Weisz, and it was
Mm.
hot. But like I was like, that's me though. In secret though.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so Paige, when did you stop putting binders under your bed and start working on other fiction, like not fan fiction? When did you
Yeah.
start like writing for realsies?
For realsies, it started off for me with webcomics. So I did eventually put my stuff on the internet. I did a comic for a long time called The Graveyard Girls, and it was the very like Tim Burton-esque little gothy illustrations. And I probably started that when I was 15, and I grew with those characters till I was honestly in my 20s, but I changed it. So it changed from that series where it was those kind of one-off, a picture or two pictures in a row with like a quippy little social commentary. I was like, my little punk gothy illustrations. And then I felt like I knew so much about these characters that I wanted to share more. So I rebranded it to a series called Pumpkin Spice that ran for, I think, about 5 years. And I self-published 4 different books and hung out with those characters online, sharing their stories for a while. And it was a NaNoWriMo that I actually wrote one of my first, like, sat down and finished a book. So the entire time I was working on webcomics, I was writing, but I had never actually sat down and finished a story. And I always thought my first book would be taking those Pumpkin Spice, those Graveyard Girls characters and turning them into like a novelization, but it just never happened.
I feel like that does need to happen though.
I don't know. I feel like the time might be gone for them. Like, I think that they lived and they had like their experience and their story. I think maybe in like 10 years time, I will sit down and like really have like nostalgia for that project. It taught me a lot. Writing a webcomic, I feel like, and then going into writing novels, you learn a lot about pacing because you have such limited space in a comic book. And then all of a sudden you have all of this space on the page, but you still kind of learn those story beats pretty well.
No, that's true. And, I say that mainly because I want to read the novelization of this particular story because that sounds fucking badass. But
it was cute.
It's true. Starting even doing fan fiction, whatever you do, you have to begin somewhere and start learning how to piece a story together, regardless of how much time you have to do it in. And sometimes I feel, I've talked about this a lot on the show, having a shorter amount of time is a better teacher than starting off with a full-length novel. I'm not saying don't start with a full-length novel, don't send me hate mail, but I think sometimes learning to write shorter and then kind of expanding the world gives you a sense of how the story needs to flow.
Yeah.
Just you get more words. And hopefully not too much exposition, because some people do way too much exposition.
I was going to say, when you're drafting, both of you, do you tend to overwrite or underwrite in that first draft?
I underwrite.
Me too.
I'm a very chronic underwriter. Like, I'll be like, oh, I need 50K words, and I'll get to like 40, and I'll be like, oh shit, now I have to fill in all the gaps.
Yep. And it feels so done, right? When you hit 40K, you're like, but I did it all.
It's already done. Can't I just turn it in like this? Like,
with the little asterisk that says insert sex scene here.
I do that all the time. So I'm like, I don't feel like writing that. Let's just brackets later.
Yeah, I don't do it that way. I don't think I overwrite necessarily. I'll sometimes get to the end and then, because I refuse to stop and go back. Like, I don't stop and go back ever. I just go forward. Unless I need to enter a comment at the top of a chapter to just go, hey, don't forget you suddenly came up with a horse that's now in the story, add it here somewhere. Like that's it, because I found that if I don't do that, I will rewrite the story to death. So I can't stop. And then by the time I get done and I'm doing my first read through, I don't necessarily add a whole bunch of words or take away a whole bunch of words. I just sort of fill out a few things and then insert those little things that was like you said, like this person had a gun, blah, blah, blah. Well, go insert what kind of gun it is, research what what the best one would be. Can you stick it in your pants, whatever. And that's for a couple different kinds of ways I write. So, that's what I do. But I had to find that I cannot stop and go back and go fill out and do, because no book will ever fucking be done by me if I do that. It's pretty bad. Bo, this is me allowing you to ask questions. You see that? We're in the first half.
I'm shocked. I never get to ask questions during the first half. What drew you to paranormal romance and Mothman specifically?
Okay. So the first part, paranormal romance, I've always just been a spooky kid. Like I feel I'm a twin sister. I have a twin sister. I am also a twin sister because that's how that works. One of our favorite movies to watch was like Double Double Toil and Trouble with the Olsen twins. We loved actually we were a little scared of Nightmare Before Christmas. It took us a while to fall in love with that one, but like a lot of those like spooky Disney Channel original movies and stuff we just were on in repeat. My mom also loves Halloween. And I feel like at an early age thought it would be very cool to be a vampire. My grandpa would always try to tell us like spooky stories too. And so like, grew up hearing about the boogeyman, and he told us that vampires ran the blood bank. So if we saw like a donate blood sign, it was actually vampires. Believed that so long. So I think I kind of grew up thinking that a lot of these spooky things actually existed, and it was a part of my subconscious working. So I remember thinking, oh, how cool would it be to write a story about vampires running a blood bank? And still need to do that. But
I was gonna say we have an anthology called Demonic Medicine,
ooh,
and that would be a really fun story to add to that anthology.
I can't add another thing to my
Just throwing it
checklist.
out there. Stew by May.
Oh God. Oh, May's not okay. Thinking about that. Yeah. So what drew me to paranormal romance? I think just all of that like early exposure to spooky stuff and really falling in love with it. I loved Anne Rice as a teenager too. So I think just like vampires. If anyone is actually listening to this, I clutched my heart while I said vampires. So not actually listening to it, but instead of watching.
But like watching it.
Yes. So if you needed the visual to go along with it. What drew me to Mothman specifically, he's just the hottest cryptid. Like truly,
Accurate,
if you look at
the
statue in Point Pleasant.
I've seen his booty. It is
the shiny hiney. He has, if you pardon my language, just an ass that won't quit. It is spectacular. And I just feel like Mothman's also having a moment. Like we're seeing a lot of sexy Mothman memes, costumes. So that was working around in my subconscious, thinking about where did he come from? What is his actual deal? And wouldn't it be cool if he transformed into like a hot anime guy? So all of those things kind of were bouncing around, and I kept falling more and more in love with him.
But I love that, first of all. And it's true that Mothman is cryptids are becoming a really big deal now. Like, not that Bigfoot wasn't a big deal, and Bigfoot's like the, Loch Ness monster. These are the cryptids, or dinosaurs or whale penis, just depending on who you ask, right? But I'm so stuck on this. One of my favorite Nessie things, and it really pisses Danielle Orsino off when I talk about that. But the thing that I think is interesting about the cryptids thing is that it is becoming a big deal, and Mothman is becoming a big deal. And I feel like it went from sort of the tinfoil hat crowd people doing the cryptids to it's cool, which was kind of like when I started playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid. We weren't cool. We were shoved into lockers. That's who we were, right? And now it's really cool to do gaming. I love that it sort of goes into that like mainstream cyclic thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it does seem.
Oh, go ahead, Bo.
It does seem very mainstream, because I was talking to Mark Muncy, and he was talking about going to the Mothman Festival, and he said it was packed because
oh my gosh,
so many people are interested in Mothman now.
Did you see all the pictures? It looked wild. It's just like
it looked crazy.
Oh, so many people.
Paige, did Mark tell you about your book there?
The flyers, I know about that because I sent Mark flyers to pass out at the festival.
Did he tell you they were gone like within minutes and he had to
Yes.
save one and just have people take
So
pictures?
people could take pictures. Yeah, that I love. There's very cool things about being in the age of the internet too, because cryptids and how people are discovering this, and it's becoming a little more mainstream, where one of my videos on TikTok made its way to this beautiful girl who got engaged at the Mothman Festival in front of the statue. And she's like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to check out your book. Yes.
I think you found something that hit right at the time. And you know what I also love? Not that I don't think the erotica stories, because I think they're so much fun, and the horror stories, but you wrote a sweet romance about this.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily typical of how some of these things are written, right? And they're not written as a sweet romance. They're written a little more naughty, which is great. Not badgering the naughtiness, but that was
or like even
different.
dark romance.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I really wanted to like ride a line with the cover and make sure that people knew it was a monster romance, but I think that the like cartooniness of the art helps make sure people know that it's like still pretty soft too. It's covers
are such a fun thing, such a fun topic. And so we're back. I don't know why I just said it like that, but I'm going to blame the wine. That was terrible.
We're back.
I thought you said it normal.
Back. And I just realized on the back of this bottle, it has like a sweetness to dryness rating. You can see it on the YouTube, but it's like that's dry on this side, and then that's sweet. And then I was debating for a brief moment when I said we're back, whether or not that was accurate. Aromas of honeysuckle, white flowers. I don't know about you guys when it comes to wine. I know I'm off on a tangent. I don't smell that shit. Like when they say stuff like, it's got honeysuckle and white flowers. What does that mean? Like, and
very big.
Juicy
like
peach
jasmine?
and pineapple flavors. And I'm like, what? And then it says this wine, not shy around spice. This wine dares you to bring the heat.
Is this just a pitch for my book?
I guess so.
Is that telling you? Are you gonna get sexy because you drank that wine? What's going on that bottle?
I'll let you know in a few minutes there, but
We'll let you know.
How you doing? So let's talk about your publishing journey. So it went from things under the bed to a binder. No, this is a journey. This is a very different journey than I've ever heard on this show. So we're going on this journey. Then to web comics, then to self-published novels. What made you decide to go a more traditional publishing route?
Well, I think a couple of different things in my life happened with and not in a bad way. I made that sound like it was gonna take some sense.
Yeah, I was like, hold on, let me pour more wine.
No, all good things. Just it is so much work to self-publish a book. And hats off to all of the incredible self-published authors out there, because it's the task list is wild, and you know that. You run a publishing company. There is just so much stuff to do, and I was feeling really overwhelmed. My husband and I we did the first two novels. It was Confidence, the Diary of an Invisible Girl, which was like a geeky teen novel. That was my first, and then A Girl Called Monster, which is a Frankenstein retelling, and that will be republished later this year with Parliament House Press. But anyway, so his job changed, and his work responsibilities got way more involved, and it meant that if we were going to continue to self-publish, I needed to learn formatting. And if I wanted to keep doing covers, I needed to learn graphic design or hire out for all of those things and be kind of like the CEO of a publishing company. And I sat with that for a while and I thought about it. And I also, in that time, worked with a couple different editors freelance and realized I loved the collaboration process. I loved getting to talk with people, having advice, having people to like springboard with when something wasn't working. And I thought, I really want to try a different route here. Like, I would love to have a future where I could do more book events, where I could have maybe see my books in stores one day, and started down that path of querying and figuring out what the other options out there were.
And then, so there's two things. So that dream came to a reality because Mothman came out and you were in Barnes and Noble, like right next to Court of Thorn and Roses, which was mind blowing. So talk about that for a moment. And I know this for many reasons, but your social media is on point, and I want to talk about that after. But let's talk about that dream in very short order becoming a reality. So,
well, honestly, I wrote this book for me. I had no idea if people were going to like it at all. There were a lot of anxious phone calls with my sister being like, it's Mothman. Are people going to want to read this? Like, the answer is yes. And it has found a really fun niche audience. And I'm in no way saying that it's like super, super popular or anything like that. But on New Year's Eve, I went over to Barnes and Noble where they had it in stock. They ordered it in after I just asked. I went up and I said, "Hey, I'm a local author. Could my book be here?" They sent a request in. They ordered in a bunch of copies, and they sold out within 3 days. So, yeah, a couple friends went over to try to buy them, and they were gone. And it was wild. I felt like I felt so excited. I also felt a little bit like, oh, well, that was that, like I guess they sold out. I guess that means that store, they might not ever order them back in. Who knows? They ordered in 10 copies again, and then they sold out again, and then they ordered in more. And now I just live at that Barnes and Noble, I guess, which is incredible. I had no I could have never fathomed that would have been the case. And now the book is at 4 different Barnes and Noble in Florida that I know of. We're in 4 different stores in New Jersey. The Ripped Bodice in California, which has been a dream ever since I discovered they existed. Meet Cute. Once this podcast comes out, the event will already happen, but doing a virtual event with them and on their shelves also in California. And it's just been incredible. Like I really truly cannot believe it. And I'm really just so grateful for anyone who's been sharing the book, enjoying the book, anyone who's connected with the story too, because it felt very much like a passion project. I felt the same way writing this book that I did when I was filling up notebooks with fan fiction when I was a teenager. And so it's really cool just to see it have this connection with people.
And what I love about that story too is that, you talked about, will people like this? And I think a lot of authors get into that. I wonder if people will like this. And the truth is, people love stories. I think a lot of, it's changing dramatically now, right? But it used to be what we were able to get to read was tailored to us by a group of publishers, right? Because you couldn't get into bookstores if you were an indie press or self-published and things like that. Like that wasn't a thing. So if you went into a bookstore, went into a library, it was what was shopped for you by the larger publishing houses. That's just the way it was. So if you couldn't get into a publishing house under the genres they wanted to publish, the stories they wanted to tell, then you didn't see stuff. Like you would not have seen I'm in Love with Mothman 20 years ago in a store, right? But now people can find it and connect with those stories, which is amazing. And also what Barnes and Noble has done to me is amazing, because there are some parameters to this, but they have what the CEO went, no, we're not going to just buy whatever these major bookstores are selling to us. The people in the bookstores can choose what they want to stock on the shelves, right? And it started with some book talk things, and finally all the contracts disappeared. So if you haven't been to your local Barnes and Noble or local bookstores, go into them, ask for the books you want to read, because it's not just a special order. They'll get them in. If they want to sell them, they'll put them on. Like going onto your social media page, you'll see a picture of your book saying signed copy right above Court of Thorn and Roses, facing forward, not some obscure, like one copy is in some corner of one bookshelf. Like you are a prominently displayed feature in Barnes and Noble, which is huge, you know? So yes, that is adorable. And I want to talk a little bit about your social media, and then I promise I'll let Bo ask some more questions.
Oh,
I let her ask one earlier because I knew where I was
you
going with
you get
this.
2 questions, Bo.
Get
No,
two.
she gets
No,
a lot of
shut up,
questions.
Bo.
Teasing, I'm
Ask all
teasing.
sassy pants, but as I get more drunk, she gets more questions. It's fine. So, but your social media, you've done a huge amount with that and a huge amount with TikTok. So let's talk about that a little bit, because there's an importance to that I think authors need to understand. And I'm not saying they mimic what you're doing, but the importance of social media and that fan base. So do you mind talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, the cool thing about what you just said about mimicking what I'm doing, TikTok is a platform where everyone is mimicking each other. And so jumping on these trends, these audios, I don't do the dances, but if you did, you could. It's hard and it's easy. And it's hard in the sense that you have to be kind of on it. You have to be paying attention to what is trending, what audios are in your niche as well, because there could be an audio that is trending for people who are in a completely different demographic than you are. And that audio is really popping off. So it's showing up, oh, this is trending. You could use it and it might not be seen by anyone in the book community. It could be more in like wellness influencers or beauty gurus, or you really just don't know unless you kind of click around and do your research. So as you're scrolling through, you'll see a bunch of people doing book talk videos with Mariana Cross by Ghost was trending. And that was the first Mothman video that went like pretty viral. And I just did like a couple second video of me being like, a Mothman video, who's ever going to want to watch that? And then did the cover on the next page with the lyrics on the screen. And that got a lot of interest. I think honestly, because it started off with that negative statement of like, no one's going to want that. And the viewer is seeing that and going, I love Mothman. I love spooky, cute stuff. Like I would read that. So they feel inclined to comment and say like, I want it, and share it. And also hopefully, you hope, click the link in your bio and go check out more. So you just never know what's gonna hit though. And that's the tricky thing. And whenever I'm talking about TikTok with friends, it's really like a quantity over quality thing. You just have to post consistently, like post once a day. You can repost stuff. You just want to make sure you're not reposting with your watermark most of the time. So you can go on a website like Snaptic, download your videos that you recorded on TikTok without the watermark, repost them on Reels, because sometimes you'll get like 200 views on a TikTok and then you'll put it on Instagram and it will really pop up over there. There's also now we're starting to get services where you can sign up for $10 a month and they'll send you weekly trending audios in your niche. I haven't done that, but I feel like if you are wanting to be more hands-off with social media and you don't have a lot of time to spend on there, it could be an interesting thing to explore. I personally enjoy it. It can be kind of a pain because the algorithm is so tailored that when you're just trying to do your research, you end up on there for so long. But I've also discovered a lot of different books and like new friends from it too. So it can be a really cool place to meet people.
It is, and I think it's one of those places where you need to go in and you need to take some time and research like what people are doing. Well, what does it look like? What are the views? Like understand, because I always say that the talk, that's how I refer to it. The talk is very much a gimmicky kind of situation too. Like you have to find something that'll grab attention because it's not serious. It's not, whatever. Getting the likes, getting the mentions, getting all that traction on it can be, for, like you said, one of the silliest things you could think of. Like, you're not like, what I'm going to do? You didn't plan out for a week. I'm going to say, Mothman love story. Who would want that? Like, you didn't sit there and do that. You probably just came up with, this is a fun, quirky thing, put it up there, and then it takes off, right? Where you could do a whole dramatic, get somebody to dress up as Mothman and do this whole thing, and like, it wouldn't fly. You know what I mean? Nobody would be interested. So
yes. And I started on TikTok in more of the vintage community, and those videos, my friends and I would spend so long on, and it would be frustrating for us because we would spend a half hour making a video together, and then it would get like 100 likes, and you'd be like, what did we do wrong? And the answer is nothing. It's just a very fickle algorithm, and you have to just keep trying. If you're listening to this and you're an author and you're like, I would really like to follow some people on TikTok who do it very well, I would say Elise Kova. Her TikToks are great. For kind of more of the like rom-com, Candy Steiner also makes really great reels and TikToks. And those are two that I feel like you can look at and sort of study and look at how they're positioned, look at how the framing is, where they're placing the text, because all of that stuff's really important too. You can still have a video go viral if your text is in a weird place, but if it's hard to read, that's going to be hard to communicate whatever message you're trying to tell. Yeah. I really want to do a presentation on this of like, here's how to lay out a TikTok video and not spend a ton of time on it. And
I think you should.
It'd be fun.
Please do.
Maybe for the Four Horsemen community, that would be a fun little meeting.
No, I agree.
Thing.
We'll get that set up. Okay, Bo, I'm letting you have at it.
All right, we're gonna switch gears a little bit though. Is there a genre you'd like to write but are scared to try?
I have a genre that I've written in, and it's all drafted, and I'm a little scared to release it now. Well, because I'm looking into all this branding stuff, and I know people, readers expect a certain thing when they're reading certain books. Like my next release is going to be a YA, and that's a little scary for me because I'm like, I hope that people aren't now coming to me for spice. It's not, Mothman's not the spiciest book, but you want to have that trust with your readers. Before I wrote anything paranormal, I wrote a book called Dear Galaxy. It is a 1950s space rom-com that is like a road trip through the stars. So it stars this sweet girl named Susie, who's an advice columnist, and she has a secret identity in her school, and she gets sent an anonymous love letter to herself and ends up on this scavenger hunt through outer space with her friends. It's so sweet. There's a little love triangle. We have our little punk rock cinnamon love interest, the cinnamon roll love interest, which I'm obsessed with. The boys who look tough, but they're not. And it's just like a really cute teen story, but it takes place in outer space. It's very sweet. There's nothing paranormal about it. And now I'm just kind of sitting on it and I'm wondering, well, I don't think I really want to do a pen name for this because
you don't need to do a pen name for that. You can absolutely release that.
Yeah,
we'll talk after. You can absolutely release that. You can email it to me tonight. That'll be good. Oh my
gosh.
So
it's like been through editing. I've spent years writing this, and it's one of those things that I feel like years ago would have been so in line with my brand because it was very like, I mean, I'm still very bubblegum, but like bubblegum pastels, retro. And now I'm like, well, now I'm taking a turn to the dark side. So I've always been spooky, but you know what I mean. You want to make sure your readers feel like they can trust you.
That's true, but you're not on the dark side. I appreciate you thoroughly. And Mothman is a little gray, but you are nowhere near the dark side here.
Me, I'm like, look at me with my pigtails. I'm so spooky over here.
You're so spooky. That's okay. I'm going to have Bo email you right after this to get that
Okay, that
manuscript.
sounds
So
great.
well done. No pressure. So Bo, continue. Now that you set that up, let's see what other work we can pry out of Paige's hands.
Yeah.
Go teach.
Oh my gosh, I am
true.
working on another thing I am planning on sending you, but it's like been my little
Ooh.
back burner project.
What is that? Now that
It's
I know
Yeah,
that's
now that you
I
talked
will
about
send
it.
you all the details on it as soon as I
secret.
have, because I'm writing it backwards. I'm working on a little anthology collection that's a vampire office romance. And I'd like to do 3 novellas that Allie Hazelwood is like my hero, my author hero. And she has, I have it over here, the Loath to Love You collection, where she has 3 short stories, and then they're all digital, and then in print they are in this really cute book all together. And I'm like, I want to do that, but with vampires. So I'm writing a little office romance with
Oh, note that
vampires.
down. Second email that goes out today.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
It's in
that would be
here
great.
now.
So what, but now that we're sealing all that work, but what's coming up next for the Mothman?
For Mothman, I love it. I don't know what to say without spoiling it.
No spoilers, but is there a book 2 in the works for the audience
Yes,
at large?
there is a book 2. We're gonna find out more about Moth. We're gonna meet some new characters. We're gonna go on a little daydreamy, floral fantasy adventure. And if you read the book and you know the ending, you know kind of where the location's going to be and maybe who we're going to be meeting. So I hope that you're excited about it, because I am. And then I'm as I've been writing book 2, because it's in that 40K something, finishing it up so I can quickly send it to beta readers and then get it to the deadline in March. So we're racing towards the finish line on that. I've been making sure that I skeleton draft out the 3rd book, because after I finish drafting this, I'm going right into writing that 3rd book so I can get it over to 4 Horsemen as quickly as possible. And that one is really fun. Like, I love the 2nd one, but the 3rd ties this really fun bow on everything. And it's going to be a moment where the characters from the 1st book and the 2nd book can all really team up together. And one of the inspirations for it, if you've ever read, what's it called? It's like one of those reincarnated animes. Like, I got reincarnated. My Second Life as a Villainess. Great. I don't know. I actually don't know if it's a manga. I said if you've read it, but if you've watched it, it is so much fun. And that is the inspiration for the 3rd one.
Well, that's very cool. That's exciting. I love that it's coming out. So the 2nd one will come out, what, around September?
I think so. September
Yeah.
is, yeah. I think it's coming out around the same time as the Mothman Festival.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. 4
And, like,
Horsemen might be
maybe-
at the Mothman Festival this year. We'll see.
Maybe my characters end up at the Mothman Festival in the book. I don't know. Who's
What?
to say?
I hope
Who's
so.
to say?
Oh my gosh. Okay, Bo, keep asking your questions. Sorry, jumped in again.
Well, is my favorite villain to hate. Is he coming back? I won't say who he is. Is he coming
We're
back?
gonna spend a lot of time not in Moth and Heather's neck of the woods, so to speak.
Mhm.
So I will say our favorite villain has a presence, but will he actually be seen? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Will he be in the 3rd book? Maybe.
I've never hated a villain more in my life.
Okay, just real talk with you. I did not expect people to hate him as much as they do.
Oh,
And I'm kind of like both living for it and surprised, because I thought that there were going to be a subsection of people who thought that his grossness was charming, because I read so many romances where it's that like cocky kind of like, oh, I'm here, I'm going to swoop in and save the day and be kind of a jerk about it. And so I was like, I wonder if people are going to be crushing on Chris. And no, no, I don't read my
No.
reviews. So I only know what people have told me or what has been screenshot by my lovely husband and then texted to me. Just for curiosity's sake, I'm like, do people like it? And he's like sent me some 5-star reviews and been like, look. But I've stayed away because I didn't want it to, one, it's not my place. I'm not, like the readers can communicate with each other and talk about what they liked and didn't like. And two, it's going to get in my head while I'm writing the other books. So I don't want to know.
No, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, reviews are really for readers, and we always talk about reviews and do you use them and what do you use them for? And, different people have different views on them, like hardcore. There's no distinct camps, I feel like. But the best books in the world have 1-star review. Like, you're not going to win that. It just is whether or not it will affect you reading them, or do you find them interesting?
I have accidentally seen a couple, just grabbing the link for Goodreads, or there's a new review website that I stumbled across and I clicked on it and the reviews are right at the top and I went, So, I think with any book, you need to know that there are going to be people who love it, and then there are going to be people who don't connect with it. And you have to remember that there are books, I've certainly read books that I have not connected with, and then books that I've really, really loved. And does that mean that the author wasn't good at their craft? No, it just means that that book wasn't written for me, but it was definitely written for someone else. And that's something I try to remember.
Very true.
What does your writing process look like? I know that's a big question. That's a big question.
It's changing, because it used to look like me staying up till like 4 a.m. a couple nights in a row and writing down like everything and feeling very like caffeine fueled, but also like that flutter in your chest and like you're watching a movie before your eyes. And it's had to become a lot more structured because I'm a mom now and I can't stay up till 4 a.m. because I get up at 6 a.m. And so and also just there are a lot of consequences to staying up late with my body because I have Hashimoto's, and if I burn out, I feel it for like another week. So doing that to myself before becoming a mom, I would be like, okay, well, I'm suffering and I'm putting on my like joint compression sleeves and I'm sleeping until 12 and just kind of like, hey, I wrote a ton of words and I'll edit them when I'm feeling a little bit better. And now I'm working this year on finding more of like a sustainable writing practice. And so that is kind of trying to do like an hour or two at night, trying to do an hour in the morning, deciding whether I want to write during nap time or whether I want to like do some stuff around the house. And it's interesting because I feel like it's a little slower going with just the creating of the manuscript. It isn't so much, I'm not writing like 10K in a night anymore, but it's cool because I feel like during the day I have so much more time to ruminate on the story and the characters and think about what is coming next and think about different motivations for stuff that I haven't quite figured out. So I feel like I'm always kind of like the wheels are always turning. The ideal writing routine right now is either getting up early or spending some time in the evening working on the book, and having like big blocks on the weekends. Like my husband's great and he'll be like, okay, we're going to go to the park and have fun, do whatever you want. And I will like sit down for like 3-4 hours and just like breeze through a ton of stuff then. So it depends on the day, but I'm trying to at least make sure I get like a 20-minute sprint in like every single day.
Very cool. Okay. We got to wrap up. So guess what? Shameless self-promotion time.
Ooh.
Where do people find your books? Where do people find you on social media?
Well, you can find my books, I think, online wherever books are sold. So, you can go on Amazon and pick it up. You could go to Barnes and Noble and either request a copy in or buy it off of your shelves if it's in stock. Also, hey, support your local bookstore. You can request them to order it in as well. And same with your local library. The story that we've been talking about a lot is I'm in Love with Mothman, and that is published with Four Horsemen, who are amazing. But the next releases I have coming up are our own little Underworld, which is a YA Hades and Persephone retelling. And then at the end of the year, we have well, the second Mothman book, which is going to be super fun. And then we're having a little Frankenstein retelling to wrap up the end of the year. So you can find me and all of that stuff that I just bleh at you on paigelavoie.com. Join my mailing list because that's the best way to get like timely updates about what's going on. And that's it. That's me. Oh, I'm Mrs. Paige Lavoie across social media as well. So MRS, Paige Lavoie, come find me and say hi.
Very cool. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. It has been
Thank
so much fun
you.
having you.
It's been amazing. Yay.
Very cool. Guys, this has been Drinking with Authors. I've been your host, Erica Lance. My co-host has been the amazing Bo Lake. Do not forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget, we'd love reviews and comments. We'd love to hear them. And we will see you guys next time.